United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this is a regular business meeting for the board tonight, so number 3 on the agenda is comments from the audience regarding items for future consideration. This is the only time that audience members can speak, so I guess nobody's going to speak tonight.
Unless Mike, you want to?
Pass.
All right, well then, moving right along to number 4, the consent agenda. On the consent agenda tonight, we have 4A, approval of October 22nd and November 12th, 2012 school board meeting minutes. B, approval of concussion management plan. C, approval of policies on monitoring use of copyrighted computer software and internet safety. D, approval of line of credit. And E, approval of November vouchers and vouchers payable. Does anyone want to remove anything from the consent agenda?
E.
E? Anyone else? I would like D removed. All right, so is there a motion to approve A, B, and C?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Rick, TJ, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, Quinn, I'll let you go first. E.
Well, I sent an email to Doug today. It seems as though we spend a lot of money on food at restaurants. And I pointed out a half a dozen different areas that restaurants we're buying food at restaurants. And Doug responded, and we don't have a per diem?
When people are traveling, yes, we have a policy for that, but many of the food charges you see are when there are meetings taking place that are meeting through the lunch hour rather than adjourn, come back an hour later, they get food and continue working while they're eating. So we don't have a limitation on that.
Well, and these are administrators, I take it?
For the most part, yes. Sometimes there's bills in there that are for, like when an athletic team travels to Madison or something and the coach has to feed them. The bills that you're talking about were primarily, if I remember right, on the educators' credit union bill. And that's what we do so that when people are traveling, they're able to provide those meals for coaches and athletes or other staff members who are traveling.
And now you said the one item, the checks to Fine Brothers,
Yes.
why are we, that's a restaurant supply company in town.
That could be. We are what's called the fiscal agent for Carl Perkins federal grant. And I believe in that case it was Greendale School District who had made some purchases from Fine. And the way that's handled is we pay the bills and we're reimbursed from the Carl Perkins grant.
Okay. All right. Good. I mean, if you look at it, it looks like we bought a whole bunch of stuff from the Greendale Perkins restaurant. Okay. And you're checking into the class of 14?
Yes, I think what I've been able to track down so far is the money got put into the class of 2014 student activity account instead of being put into the Fund 21 account. We record all the other revenues and expenditures for the block party. So we get that straightened out. Get the money transferred back to the district.
That's all.
Motion to approve E.
Second. Rick? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I pulled D off because Doug brought to my attention that the note says that that this note was read in full, and then a motion made and seconded. So I think that we need to have the note read in full. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we could approve it as presented.
What page are you on? Did you see that?
It's on the first page of the officer's certificate, tax and revenue anticipation note.
Down near the bottom, if I can interrupt, it says,
The middle of the last page.
the note in evidence of the borrowing was read in full. It's 2 pages long.
Where are you? You're on this page, right? I just want Bernie to show me.
Number 4,
Where the signatures of Nancy, TJ, and Stephanie are located.
that page, it's in the number 4 paragraph, about 2/3 of the way down.
Better start reading.
Should be the-
I think you're asking for it to be read individually.
No, I think someone will have to read it out loud. But is it the officer's certificate, this tax and revenue anticipation note that we have to read, or is it the resolution?
It would be
for tax and-
Exhibit A, which is the
Okay, that's
resolution
what I
for
thought.
tax and revenue anticipation.
Okay, so Doug, you want to read that?
Sure. Hope my voice holds out here. Whereas the Whitnall School District, Greenfield, Wisconsin, may be temporarily in need of funds in the amount of $2 million to meet the immediate expenses of operating and maintaining the public instruction in the district during the current school year. And whereas this district board deems it necessary and in the best interests of the district, said funds be borrowed from time to time pursuant to the provisions of section 67.12, parent 8, parent A1, Wisconsin statutes, and whereas the estimated receipts, taxes and other revenues for the operation and maintenance of the schools in the district for the current school year exceed by at least 2 times the total borrowings of the district for such purposes, including the amount to be borrowed pursuant to this resolution, along with any other borrowings made by the district. And whereas the tax for operating and maintaining the schools of the district for the current school year has been previously voted, and whereas Associated Bank National Association, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, has agreed to provide the district with a revolving line of credit in an amount up to $2 million, which line of credit is authorized by this resolution in accordance with the provision of Wisconsin Statute 67.12, parent 8, parent A1, and now therefore be it resolved by this school board that for the purposes set forth above, the district president and district clerk are authorized and directed pursuant to section 67.12, parent A8, parent A1, Wisconsin statutes, to borrow from time to time from Associated Bank National Association, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the lender, a total sum not to exceed $2 million in the aggregate, and to evidence the district's obligation, the president and district clerk shall execute and deliver to the lender on behalf of the district the taxable tax and revenue anticipation note, the note, of the district in the form attached hereto as attachment A, incorporated herein by reference. The terms of the borrowing shall be as set forth in the note. So long as the note or interest thereon remains unpaid, the tax for operation and maintenance of the schools shall be and continue irrepealable. A sufficient amount of the receipts, taxes, and other revenues with respect to operation and maintenance of the district are pledged to payment of the note and shall be segregated in a special fund to be used solely to pay the note and interest thereon. If there shall be insufficient funds in said special fund to meet such payments, the district shall promptly pay the principal and interest on the note when due from other available funds. The appropriate officers of the district are directed and authorized to furnish the lender all documents as may be necessary and to do all things required in order to procure the loan. The proceeds of the note shall be used solely for paying the immediate expenses of operating and maintaining the public instruction within the district during the current school year. The district clerk shall keep records for the registration and for the transfer of the note. The person in whose name the note shall be registered shall be deemed and regarded as the absolute owner thereof for all purposes, and payment of either principal or interest on the note shall be made only to the registered owner thereof. All such payments shall be valid and effectual to satisfy and discharge the liability upon such note to the extent of the sum or sums so paid. The note may be transferred by the registered owner thereof by presentation of the note at the office of the district clerk, duly endorsed for the transfer or accompanied by an assignment duly executed by the registered owner or his legal representative, duly authorized in writing. Upon such presentation, the note shall be transferred by appropriate entry in the registration records and a similar notation including date of registration, name of new registered owner, and signature of the district clerk shall be made on such note. The district represents that it is in compliance with and will continue to comply with Wisconsin Statute 121.91 and 121.92 concerning revenue limits. Borrowing shall also be subject to the terms and conditions of the commitment letter of Associated Bank National Association, a copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated by reference herein as Attachment B. Adopted and recorded this 26th day of November 2012. That will be signed by Nancy and have the district seal applied to it. Before I started, I forgot to mention that Keith Sager from Associated Bank is in the audience. He brought all this together for us, so we're open to questions, I guess.
Move to approve. Second.
I'll be recusing myself from this vote.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the line of credit. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that's 6, 0, and 1. All right, then moving on to old business. Discuss and take possible action on nature pod proposal.
You want me to kick it off?
Please.
Okay, what we're looking for tonight is, approval to continue going forward with developing the Frisbee golf course. But we need to know that whether the board supports it or not, contingent on funding and the city involvement. So with that, probably the two people that have been involved the most are, Mr. Anderson and older Mr. Parsna. We're here to answer any questions you may have and talk about any possible developments over the last 2 weeks since our last board meeting.
Do you have anything new to tell us?
Take the lead.
We met with, what was his name, Mike
Harrington.
Mike Harrington. He owns a landscape company. He's an avid Frisbee golfer, and from that, we had a meeting with him in the nature pod. We walked through the course. We kind of shot some ideas towards him about what we could do and what he wants to do. So,
Yeah,
through that-
where we're at with Mike, is Mike's the one that maintains a couple courses locally. And he just pointed out a couple safety things that we needed to be looking for as far as limbs on the trees that are kind of hung up. Things that we're gonna have to actually probably get an arborist in, commercial arborist, and/or the city of Greenfield potentially to cut some of that down to eliminate that safety hazard. Otherwise, most of the buckthorn and honeysuckle that's in there, we just come and use a grubbing machine and get it out of there. We talked about the design. It can be something as simple as walking the course and plotting it out.
with a bunch of students.
Right, with students.
Or using a professional, kind of help us out.
Yeah, there's a couple people that are out of Madison area. One guy's name is Pat. I don't have his last name, but there are some people coming out of the woodwork. I understand that there's maybe somebody from Minnesota
Yep.
too.
I got a couple emails from Minnesota. There's one from Minnesota, I think one from Michigan or something like that.
So what I would like to do is try to work with these people who have experience in this to try to develop a scope of work. And then once we have that scope of work developed, we can take that proposal, to the city and say, look, this is what we're looking for, as far as support goes on the job. So at least we'll have some kind of concrete document that we'll put together at no cost, but at least they'll have a full scope of work, maybe some aerial photos, some pictures of what we want to do in the course. And with the scope of work together, I think it'll be a lot easier to approach, potential volunteers or, other businesses that want to kick in to help with the project. It'll also determine if the district needs to make an investment financially to do the work itself.
Did you guys get Mr. Shaw the information that he asked for to do a search on the deed?
I have that information.
You did?
I did,
You got it?
yeah. And there's some other, we will not have an issue. Well, there is not a deed restriction of public record that prevents us from using this as an alternative source or an alternative use.
There were also some funds given to the district to purchase trees that were planted in there. I think it was a $10,000 gift from a community member. Those trees are still out there. They're still labeled. And so that we'd obviously be saving that, those trees that are growing back there, so.
So as I understand, what you would like from the board tonight is some type of motion to allow you to carry forward with the work that you've been doing, subject to certain items.
Right.
The only thing that I still would like to have feedback is from the teachers that use the nature pot as it exists. If they have any concerns with doing the Frisbee golf course, interfering with how they use the pot. Since that was kind of what the original intent of the gifting seemed to be. That would be my only,
Yep.
that's
And-
the only thing I'd like to hear a little bit on.
Right, and we do plan to notify everyone that it would hurt or involve. So those 5 houses, lots right there, we'd be notifying them. We'd definitely be notifying the city. We'd be notifying teachers.
Yeah, the real intent of the motion would be to proceed with developing that scope of work that we could take out to the life science teachers at the middle school and say, this is what we're doing, how is it going to impact you? We need time to get more tangible things out there to actually put a package together so that we can, have those meetings. So that's really what we're looking for is that, motion to move forward with that scope of work.
Clayton, thank you for getting names. That's great. That's great.
No problem.
Shows there's more interest than just you two.
Yeah, and I did speak with Carl Kastner last week prior to break, and he's aware of the project and is in support of it, so.
Clayton, we had a couple of our middle school science teachers at the finance committee meeting, I believe.
Yes, we did.
So they're aware of it and.
Right, Paula seemed a little,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
I think once there's an understanding of what it's gonna be and how we're gonna control it during the day, obviously you're right, we would never want to interfere with any of our curriculum, or science curriculum classes, so, yeah, we would definitely control hours and things like that.
I think we'd like a letter of support from the main faculty, I don't know who it is at the middle school, it's Laura Cerletti at the high school.
Yeah.
That would also bolster your point that it's a dual-purpose facility. So, I mean, if they're on board with it and continue to use it as a nature pod, then that's a good thing, that it should be in writing. And as far as scope of work, so what, are you looking for funds? You want to go outside to?
No, what I'm just looking for, I guess, is, we don't want to put all the legwork into it if we don't have the board support. And so, knowing that we have the board support, I would, work with Clayton and some outside businesses to develop that scope of work, maybe put some dollars to it and find out, you know, what the district's investment's gonna be, what I can get for volunteers.
Right, and I can start my fundraising.
Was it New Berlin? Did they do, you can borrow theirs, maybe?
Actually, the guy we spoke with at Mike Harrington is the one that maintains the
But I mean,
golf course.
did they do a scope of work? I mean, how long ago did they put that in?
Valley View's been in probably about 9 years, and that was basically, that course kind of looked like the nature pods.
We talked to him today, he said it's very similar, kind of a beginner's course.
They took more of a forestry approach where they wanted to get rid of all the buckthorn and honeysuckle, and they cut the trees out that they didn't want, and they're trying to reestablish the forest in there. That was kind of their driving force to putting that course in there.
On your petition, it says, would you like to see the nature pod become a Frisbee golf course?
Yes.
That seems like it's, like we're overtaking the nature pod. The wording is.
Right, it wasn't meant to be like that. It is gonna serve as a dual purpose.
But by not by that, by statement, that doesn't say that.
No.
Maybe we could cover that issue in the motion. We might be able to.
We need to enhance that and make sure
Yeah.
that there's
Right.
two separate entities there.
Yeah, similar to how the Citizens Committee approached the school board about doing the athletic fields project. Clayton and myself are approaching the school board looking for that same kind of support going forward with this project. So.
And have you, when you first gave it, you said 5 to 15,000, or where are we at?
Well, we're gonna, again, with
Yeah,
moving
like-
forward with the motion, I would start investing time in my office, you know, actually calling people, meeting people out on site, and developing, like I said, an aerial photograph with some kind of layout, either with GPS or, you know.
Yeah, and developing more concrete budget off of that too, so.
Right now, we just have a vision we're kind of working off of.
Because one of the references that Clayton just made was to an email I received from an individual here in our school district that just transferred, or just moved down here from Minneapolis. And she was very active in they had just done this up in Minneapolis for a school district. And she was very active in that process. And she asked if she offered her services if we could wait till after Christmas. And I said, I don't see why we couldn't wait till after Christmas. She goes, because I can probably get you in contact with the people up in Minneapolis that did it all for free. And they took at it, her take on it was that this, when they did it in Minneapolis, was for the youth, one more option available for youth to give them something to do. Specifically, she said to me, male youth in the community. So she said, it's a worthwhile cause. I give your son credit. Please forward my email to him. And I promptly did. And I told her, I said, she needs to work with him through it. But she says, there's a lot of opportunities in a lot of ways, because they did theirs for virtually no money. So from an expenditure standpoint, she goes, there's a lot of options, because there's a lot of people interested in Frisbee golf, and they know there's not a lot of money out there for it, so they've been doing a lot of the work themselves. So that was what Clayton referred to as somebody from Minnesota. That was an email that was forwarded to me, and then I in turn forwarded it to Clayton. But like I said, I think what you're just looking for is, do you have board support to move forward with the idea?
Yes.
You're not asking for board approval to put it in. You're just asking for the idea, coming back with ideas and projects and perspectives and scope and all that kind of stuff. Okay.
And I would reiterate again, I certainly appreciate you coming and the advocacy that you're showing for your district.
Thank you.
That's commendable, so thank you. But I also think it's very clear that there are concerns that is working with the community that uses it, not merely notifying them of what's being done. I actually am in support of the project as long as the financing doesn't impact the district. So the clearer that the scope is, the clearer that your cost estimates are, and the clearer where your funding support is coming from, that would be valuable to have.
Yep, and that'll be on us to put that together, to bring all those answers back to the board.
Lenny, are you working on a motion over there?
Yeah, as vaguely as you possibly can to make sure we include everything.
Let me ask you, what a bag of disc costs? You know, I mean, I've seen people, you know, they got 3, 4, 5 different size discs that they use. They don't call them Frisbees, they
You
call
can
them
get a
discs.
set for like under $25, like, I mean, a set of them, you can get,
Yeah.
you can get a single one, I mean, they've
You
been
can get-
there like for $5.
Yeah, you can get them cheap, or you can, if you want a nicer done, you can go up to like $25, $30 a piece.
Per?
Yeah, per disc.
And bring your own.
So
I'm-
there's a big range.
Move to approve further due diligence in support of the dual-purpose nature pod and Frisbee golf course.
Make it subject to some of the items we talked about.
I just said further due diligence,
Okay.
which gives them the
All
scope to
encompassing.
do all their work, and supporting both the nature pod and Frisbee golf.
I like yours better than mine.
Kathy, did you get that motion? Or can you repeat
Yeah,
that?
you could have mine, but
You can
it's
type
okay.
it, print it off, I'll review it.
Okay, so we have a motion, is there a second?
I will second that one.
All right, any other discussion? All right, then all in favor, please say aye.
Dispense the discussion. I just want to make clear, I'm going to vote on this motion
Okay.
because it does not involve actually doing the project. When the project comes up before me, then I will recuse myself. Okay?
All right, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right,
Thank you.
there you go.
Hey,
All right, number 6, comments from the school board regarding agenda items for future consideration. Anything?
Yes, I'd like to have the principals and the executive director give us a presentation on report cards. And I think we also need to have a frank discussion on possible drug use or alcohol use in the nature pod.
Anyone else?
Just, I would add to Quinn's comment about the report cards, there's a good article, a couple of articles actually in the paper yesterday about the report cards, many of you might have seen it. And it would be nice to actually see a visual, you know, what do the report cards look like? And I think we all have a pretty good idea of what's the purpose of them and the direction, but I kind of like to see the physical specimen, and how they differ and how they actually help assess student performance in a progressive manner, so.
Okay. Any other agenda items? All right, number 7, board member announcements.
yeah, it's on a personal one. I'm
Okay.
spending my time with you guys tonight. Tonight's my anniversary. My wife is watching. Happy anniversary, dear. And I will be coming home.
Gwen?
Yeah, David Cody of the
Patch?
sent us an email that the National Patch is doing a contest for your house, Christmas lighting on your house, and you could win our district $100,000, which I find hard to believe. But if you want to have pictures of your house, if you do lighting, put it on there. I did, there is one particular family, the Sikowski family, that puts on a heck of a show, and I forwarded it to him, and maybe he'll win.
That'd be good. Yeah, whoever wins gets $500 to pay their electric bill, and
Oh, he
and
spends
then
a lot more than
the
that.
school gets $100,000, so,
It's crazy what he spends.
It is national.
yes, yes.
See some of those in Texas.
Any other announcements? All right, then, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Quinn? All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Honey, that was a-
Doug, do you have stuff we have to sign?
See that?
Really